Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. And you watch or whenever you watch this video. So, my name is Fauzan Yekira Pratama, and I'm going to present about my answer of exam, final exam or the semester to subject management risiko or risk management. And so first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Fauzan Yekira Pratama, as I said before, and my student number is 148. So, let's move to the presentation about explanation for my final exam answer. Okay, move to the question, the answer from the question. First question is stakeholder can be categorized as an internal and also external stakeholder. So the question A is to describe the importance of stakeholder involvement in the risk assessment and risk evaluation process and how it differs between internal and external stakeholders. So stakeholder involvement is essential because risk management is not just about identifying threats, but also understanding how those risks affect different parties, internal stakeholders such as employees, managers, and also board have the direct operational knowledge, so they help the company to recognize their internal vulnerability. On the other hand, the external stakeholder, such as customers, regulators, suppliers, investors, communities, provide insight into risks that come from outside organizations. For example, they can highlight market expectation, regulatory change, supplier disruption, public sentiment, and also environmental pressure. Move to question B. The question B asks about when the company creates a report regarding their risk management and how and why they differentiate the report for those two types of stakeholders. Companies differentiate risk report is because each group needs different level of detail, format, and also sensitivity. Internal reports are usually more detailed, technical, and also operational. They may include confidential data, such as identified fraud case, control weaknesses, internal audit findings, or strategic risks that competitors should not see. The purpose is to help internal decision makers take corrective action. And the external report, such as sustainability report, annual report, or the ICD disclosure, tend to focus on high-level information, the company risk governance structure, major risk category, mitigation efforts, and compliance achievement. External stakeholders do not need and should not receive sensitive information that could harm the company competitiveness, or reveal confidential issue. Why difference? So first, the confidentiality. Some internal risks cannot be publicly disclosed. And number two is relevance. Internal users need operational detail, and external users need a strategic assurance. And number three is regulatory needs. The external report must align with standards such as BRI and ISO 331,000, while internal reports follow organizational needs. And the last one is decision making. The internal report drives operational improvement, while external reports build trust and also transparency. Move to the question C. In my opinion, what will happen if during this risk management process, companies do not treat those two types of stakeholder differently? And you may give a partial example to support my argument. It could be from actual or fictional company. If a company tries to treat both types of stakeholder the same, several problems can be occurred. The first one is a confidential or sensitive information may leak. Second one is internal teams may not get the of information they need. And the third one, stakeholder may misinterpret the company risk profile. For example, the case of a significant compliance and audit risk from the external stakeholder, such as investor, regulator, and the public, only saw the final published financial statement, which present Garuda as a profitable, when in reality, it was not. So what happened? Because the report was differentiated properly, so Garuda published external report that did not reflect the real internal risk situation. They treat external stakeholder almost the same as internal ones by giving only the positive side and hiding internal red flag. So because of this, the first one is regulators reacted, OJK and BI give the sanction to the company and individual director. Second one, investor collapse, infrastructures collapse, and the third one is internal corrective action were delayed. Move to the question number 2, which is about Petasonic. Is a logistic delivery tech company that offers a big parcel delivery for e-commerce platform. The internal integrated timing, rider coordinate, you can read on my monitor or your monitor. So the question is based on the case. The question A was to explain how each of these issues affect company operational and cash flow. So the issue was frequent system outage in the tracking platform, increased operational costs due to fuel price inflation, and increasing number of delivery delays caused by constrained couriers. So how each of these three could affect operational and cash flow? The first one is frequent system outage in the tracking platform. So system outage is the system outage can disrupt real-time tracking and auto dispatching the process. When the platform down, couriers cannot receive update routes, customers cannot check parcel position, and warehouse cannot coordinate efficiently. Second one is increase in operational cost due to fuel price inflation. Since Panasonic relies on the motorcycle and transport delivery, fuel is a significant cost driver. When fuel price rise, the cost for delivery becomes more expensive, especially for the same-day services. Financially, this reduces profit margins because fuel cost increase happens quickly while service process cannot always be adjusted immediately. If uncontrolled, cash outflow rises each month, reaching the company's ability to invest or expand. So the third case was increasing delivery delays caused by untrained couriers. So untrained couriers is tend to make a navigation error, take longer routes, miss the sales, or fail to meet delivery cut-off times. So operationally, this lowered the company delivery success rate and customer satisfaction. Okay, the question B was asked out about which one of the three do you think is the most hazardous risk for the company, and we been asked to analyze the likelihood and impact of each risk, then decide the risk prioritization. So the first one, we made the table, a simple table, about risk, likelihood, impact, and auto assessment. So the first risk was system outage. The likelihood, I think, is medium to high. Impact is very high because it can cause some trouble in other parties. And the assessment was critical. The second risk was still cost inflation. The likelihood probably high. The impact was medium because it will impact in long term, not at our current days, and the assessment is significant. The last risk was untrained couriers causing delays. Likelihood it can be high, depends on their recruitment of the couriers and the terms to be their courier. And the impact was high because the courier was the core of their companies, which was delivery, and the assessment was severe. So this is the explanation I told before, so we're gonna skip. For the question C, for each risk, suggest preventive and corrective controls that can be implemented. For the outage risk, the preventive control can build cyber redundancy, conduct regular stress testing, improve cybersecurity, and also implement real-time monitoring. The corrective control, we can activate disaster recovery protocol, technical war room team to restore service quickly, provide manual backup operation, and also post-incident review to prevent repeated failure. And the next phase was fuel price fluctuation. The preventive we can do is use route optimization algorithm to reduce fuel consumption. And second one is sign long-term fuel contracts, expand the use of electric bags on low fuel use vehicle, introduce fuel budgeting and consumption monitoring. For the corrective control, we can do adjust customer pricing during fuel spikes, reallocate riders to reduce unnecessary distance, and shift to zone-based delivery clustering to cut fuel usage. The third issue was delivery delays from untrained courier. The preventive control factor this was established mandatory use probation period, apply real-time route guidance apps, and standardized operating procedure for check-in, pick-up, and also drop-off. The corrective control was to conduct refresher training, reassign queries from complex zone to simple route, issues warning for performance improvement plans, provide temporary manpower support in congested area. So that's all for the question number 2. We are going to move to question number 3. The question number 3 was a case from medical hospital that faced series of patient safety incident because also medical procedures were carried out without documentation or approval. So staff interviews revealed that several nurses noticed the deviation but did not report them because they felt leadership would not take their concern seriously. This is how risk culture directly affect behavior in risk environment. So the question A, we're taught to describe the concept of risk awareness and risk culture using my own understanding and how they influence each other. So by my understanding, risk awareness is refers to how well the individual understand the type of risk that exists in their environment. And the risk culture is the shared mindset, values, and behavior of the entire organization towards the risk, and it reflects whether people feel encouraged, support, or afraid when raising concern. The two concepts is interconnected. If the risk culture is strong, employees naturally become more risk aware because the organization trains them, listen to them, and also reinforce the safe behavior. But if the risk culture is weak, even people who are aware of the risk may not choose to act, since they fear to be blamed or believe leadership will ignore them. So for the question B, we're told to about our opinion, what factors can be used to judge whether hospital has strong or weak risk culture, and list the main characteristics. So the first one is leadership attribute towards risk. Second one, about physiological safety and speaking up behavior. The third one about reporting and learning system. The fourth one is consistency in the following clinical protocols. The fifth is training and competency development. Six, communication and team collaboration. And seven, accountability and also fairness, or just culture. Okay, the question C is based on the case. We how to identify weakness in the medis hospital risk culture and suggest two initiatives that can be taken by medis to enhance risk awareness and risk culture among staff. So the weakness I identified from the case was the first one, lack of psychological safety. Second one is poor compliance and documentary practice. Third is leadership disengaged. And the fourth one is low incident reporting behavior. The two initiatives to enhance risk awareness and risk culture. The first one is establish speak up for safety program. This includes anyone's reporting channels, anti-racism policies, and active encouragement from leadership. And the second one is conduct mandatory training and simulation based on workshop. Okay, we're going to move to our mini paper, which was about risk management from real company that I choose. So in this mini paper, I choose the same as my previous answer in question number one, which was Garuda Indonesia financial error. So for the overview, as I explained before, Garuda hide some or change some external report to hide their weakness and show the public only positive side. So move to the risk phase by financial reporting and compliance risk. So one of the biggest risks Garuda Indonesia was related to financial reporting and compliance. So there was three types of risk, which one compliance risk, the first one is compliance risk, second one reputational risk, and the third one operational and governance risk. There's the severity of impact. The impact was very serious because it affected Garuda overall credibility. This the key question, this key part or bab is company response and mitigation action. So after the issue became public, Garuda Indonesia took several steps to deal with the financial reporting recovery controversy. The first one is to restatement of financial statement, which Garuda released a corrected version of its 2019 financial report as required by Logika and PDP. Second one is leadership and governance adjustment. The third one is internal audit and benchmark, which was strengthening approval process, strengthening supervision of revenue recognition, and improving coordination between the finance, accounting, and audit teams. The fourth one is coordination with regulator. The fifth is public communication transparency effort. Untuk di section, the section was up to personal opinion and recommendation. So my opinion on Garuda risk response was the company only made correction after the regulator stepped in, which was show that they were deeper weakness in its internal risk culture and governance. Also, this case also reflects that some leaders seem more focused on short-term financial appearance rather than long-term transparency and integrity. What I would recommend to their risk manager if I use risk management, the first recommend was to stronger integration with enterprise risk management or ERM. Second one is improving risk culture and whistleblowing channels. The third one is mandatory compliance training for senior management. Fourth is to using technology to strengthen financial control. And the last one is more transparent communication with stakeholders. In conclusion, the Garuda Indonesia company oversight and underdeveloped risk culture can create serious reputation and regulatory consequences. While the company did take corrective action, the response came only after the damage already spread. This incident serves as a strong reminder that solid risk culture and effective internal control are essential for any company, especially a state-owned enterprise, to maintain their credibility. Okay, so that was all of my presentation or explanation about my answer for the final exam. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to explain about my answer and to bisa kepada Bu Ake, thanks for the help for this through this one semester. Thanks for all who's been watching till the end. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.